going to show? What are you going to show in a second?
I will show the service binding part.
On a CLI or where?
CLI. We will show CLI.
So let me quickly do. Let me quickly show something, share something, and I'm not prepared for this, so.
The conversation's all good.
All right. So can you guys see my screen already?
Yep.
All right. So let me quickly give you a very brief introduction of what CodeEngine is. All right. Cool. Okay. So as you can see here in my browser, hopefully, so this is the start screen of the IBM Cloud CodeEngine service. So I'm in the IBM Cloud portal. I'm logged into my personal IBM Cloud account. And as you can see here on the left, we have a lot of services, like, just various Kubernetes services, function services, OpenShift services, and also a new service that we call CodeEngine. And what CodeEngine basically does, it allows you to bring your application either as a piece of source code or as a predefined Docker image. And then it allows you to run that application. So as you can see here, I can say, hey, run a container image or run a source code. And then once I have this container image deployed, or once I have my little application deployed, and I want to use services, other services from the IBM Cloud Catalog or other services that I deployed manually by myself, then I can use the service binding operator to basically do that. The first thing that I would have to do right now here, let me quickly do this, is I'm going to create a project. I'm going to pick a location. Right now, we only support Dallas as our only location, but that's going to change next week. We're going to add more. So I'm going to make a call. I'm going to call it Red Hat Demo. And I'm just going to create a project right now. Did it work? Oh, yes. So I'm going to create a project right now. And what that does basically is under the covers, it would create a Kubernetes namespace and just set it up with a little bit of routing. So it's probably very similar to what happens when you create a project in OpenShift, except that it's a service on the internet and not a, like you don't own the cluster. You don't even see the cluster where this is getting created. Now that I have my demo project created, I can now go and I can click here and say, let me create an application. I'm going to call this Red Hat Test App. All right. Oops, I cannot. Red Hat Test App, and it's going to become from a container image, and I'm just going to pick. I don't know. I'm just going to do this hello world image from a Docker repository, and of course I can do this in any kind of from any kind of repository. I can have my private, etc. I can specify a bunch of runtime settings as you would expect, like memory, CPU, request timeouts, scaling behavior, that sort of stuff. I can provide environment variables, none of which I want to do right now. I'm just going to click on deploy. And that will basically now, behind the scenes, pull down my container image, and then deploy that into my namespace and provide a route to it such that the application that will exist is going to be routable, right? So while it's deploying, let me quickly see. While it's deploying. So deploying, taking a little long. Okay, right now it's ready. My revision is ready, and I can now fire an application here to my application URL, or basically just, as you can see here, I just got a domain assigned to it, which is called Red Hat Test App, and then that's my namespace ID, and then US South CodeEngine app-domain-cloud.com, and I basically have a hello world application up and running. And that's really what CodeEngine is about. Like, bring your code, bring your container image, throw it in. We're going to give you some kind of a serverless experience as a hosted service on the cloud. You don't care about the cluster in the backend. You don't have to care about any of that stuff. And now I'm going to hand over to Shuang, who's going to show you how the service binding operator in our particular case feeds into this demo.
So thank you, Simon. Let me share my screen. Probably. I think you.
Yeah,
can you see my screen.
I just stopped, so now you should be able to share.
Okay.
Try again.
Probably there's some. I mean, the system. Let me quickly to see if we fix the problem. Probably I joined by the browser. Seems like I cannot share my screen.
There's on the bottom right. I joined by browser too, and I could share. So look at the bottom right of your screen, Shuang, and there's a thing.
Yeah,
present now.
There's a system. I mean, system preference that I need to do some configuration.
Oh, okay. So you have
maybe Yang, can you share your screen, Bobo?
Let me have a try.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, yes. So Xiang, maybe you can show our, publication. There's a diagram here. I can give you the link.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Take your time. No worries.
So you mean the box note, right?
Yes, the box note we are working on, the about service binding publication.
Okay, I'll find it.
I give you the link if you.
Can you see now? It has showed in the browser.
Yeah, you can go to the diagram.
Yeah, it cannot show. You mean this diagram? The diagram is doesn't show here.
Okay. Maybe let me do this. Sorry. Actually, I want to show us a picture here. Maybe Yang, you can go to your slide.
Mm-hmm.
1 second.
Yeah.
You can show your slide. I send you the picture.
Yeah, I have opened it, but maybe some delay.
Okay. Anyone see the diagram? Because I also maybe network problem, some delay here.
I don't see. I see still Bobo's browser, I think, or so it's there's a delay.
Delay, yes.
Maybe Bobo, you can try to stop share and share again.
Yeah. Okay.
Shuang, if you want, you can also. I mean, I can try to do the demo for you if you instruct me what you want me to do, or send me.
Yeah, because Bobo prepared the CLI demo for us, so I think Bobo will. I mean, if.
Okay. No, I don't want to take it away. I just want to try to help.
Sure. Because I mean, Bobo will do the CLI demo next. I think he is a critical, guys.
Can you see the picture now?
Still the browser.
We see your browser.
Yeah. So I think I have switched to.
Yeah,
okay,
we can see your presentation.
Okay.
Yes,
Now it's good.
Now we see.
Okay. So, sorry about that. So basically, this is a diagram about the code engine service binding. So as Simon said before, Code Engine has two kind of workload in the right side, right? One is the Code Engine application, which is running like the web-based HTTP-driven application. Another workload will be the batch. Batch means you can run some like the run to complete task. You can, have a script to do some like the splitting the log or process, transfer the image or video, this kind of offline job. This kind of two workload type for Code Engine target. So, but if we want to, resolve a real business case, we need to find a service. For example, a DB service, right, or the object storage service. So this kind of service, Code Engine want to do is that to bind, to integrate with the IBM service instance in IBM Cloud. So IBM Cloud provides various kind of service like database, cache, or storage, this kind of service. So how we can make the service, easily integrate with the Code Engine application or batch. For example, application can find a database to persistent data, right? So for this solution, we are using two kind of the open source project. One is the IBM Cloud Operator, which is doing is the retrieve the service credential from the IBM catalog about the service instance, get, for example, the username, password, API key, domain, this kind of information, and then it will be goes to the service binding operator, right? This is our project here. The service binding operator will get this kind of service credentials, and then inject the secret. I put here the Code Engine secret, which is also same with the Kuber secret. We generate the secret and then inject secret to the Code Engine application, the batch. So this is architecture level how we implement the service binding and how we're using the service binding operator. And from the end user perspective, so end user just need to, very easy to tap a command, say application bind, for example, bind the service, for example, cost service. And then now we only offer like using the CRI. So Code Engine team implement the Code Engine CRI to do the service binding operator. In future, we will also do that in the UI. So it's also in the plan. So I think so far for us is that because we already have client team, CRI, UI team to work with the service binding operator. That means the API spec will be very important for us. Keep the backward compatible is very important for us. So otherwise, we need to, if we keep change, and then CRI, UI team, and server-side team all need to be impacted. So that's the architecture. So we already have CRI and also the server-side. Maybe Yang, you can take over. Any question on that, on this diagram before demo? Okay, so Bobo, maybe you can go ahead to show your CRI, Code Engine CRI to do service binding.
Yeah, okay. I have switched to my timeline, so can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay. In this demo, I will demonstrate how to do the service binding use over the Code Engine CLI with IBM Cloud Service, and we can use this. We can. I have great IBM Cloud Service. And we will use this service. This is a translate service that will take a text input and will translate the text and will output the result. And I have also create Code Engine application.
I apologize. Is anyone else seeing the screen changing? I'm only seeing the command line IBM C, and then just seems to be frozen. Is anyone seeing the same thing?
Same for me.
Yeah, okay.
I do see IBM Cloud Resource Service Insta.
You do, huh?
Yeah, I see the IBM C2. Maybe let's wait a little bit or type.
Maybe yeah, Yang, I copy you the script. You're running all the command, so you prepare for our publication in your Slack. Maybe because live demo impact by the network, probably you can show the copy text to show us the CRI as a plan B. You can see our Slack.
Oh, it just came up.
Okay.
So now I have run execute two commands. One is for the service instance, and another is I have do a app list for the code engine. So both of them has showed, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I'll do search. So now I will do a band for the code, let's say command line. Find the suspending demo application to the translator service instance. And it will take several seconds for the binding and for the application to redeploy. Yeah, I think in the Go cluster, we can get in the namespace that there is a suspending there has been created by the CLI. And you can see the suspending content. Here we banded the application and the service, and we use a customer event var, I think, to do the credential inject. So all of you can see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can see.
Yeah, I think here it has showed the binding has complete. So we will test it worked. Now test the app user cur. We do the translation for the hello world from the English to Chinese. Yeah, the result is in Chinese, 你好世界. So that's the process for the suspending first demo.
Yes. So as you can see, we have CE, IBM Cloud CE app, and bind. The subcommand is bind. Basically, we're using this one command to harden the IBM Cloud operator and IBM service binding operator to the end user. So we want to offer, easy user appearance to the developer. So one command to bind service. That's the demo for our CRI.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you so much.
And one thing I want to mention is that currently we're still using, I think maybe the previous version of the service binding operator. It's the customer email var. I have found that in the latest version, it has changed to the mapping. I think this is a change for us. So, so I hope in the future, if we have such big changes, we can talk together and do the decision. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I think these are the challenges that we're hoping to address in these calls. So definitely, we want to make sure that doesn't happen in the future.
Yeah, I think we should effectively do our planning together in such a way that we are all part of that decision, that when that should happen.
Yeah.
That way, none of us should be impacted. I totally agree with you, Bobo.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Pavel, would you like to take us through your demo?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
No, good. Now let's share the screen. Okay, so just to introduce myself, I work. My job is to lead QE efforts around service binding operator in the project, and so to show how we use a service binding operator, we use it basically to test it. So that's the use. So we are kind of a first customers to it or users. So I want to show you how our tests look like, and those tests are very useful also to showcase what it can do or how to contribute. So the thing is that let's assume that just the basic scenario that we have that we have a database and a Node.js application, and we just want to bind them together, right? Because the database is the storage for the data for that application. So I'm using to showcase this one of the examples that we have in the repository. So you can like find it and try it on your own. And I'll be showing that on an OpenShift cluster, which is, but the same thing should work also on Kubernetes or any other. We actually test that for each PR with Minikube and with OpenShift. So we ensure that it works. So what we need as a prerequisite for this is to have the service binding operator installed. Of course, installed the operator for the database. So this contains the instructions how to install it. I will just quickly like pass them. They just say how to install application and how to install the database operator, which is not that interesting. So and this piece is for creating a database. Okay, so now we have the database instance running and the application running. And we just want to bind them together. So we create a service binding here. And what it does, it reconciles, it creates the binding, and the application is redeployed and it's connected because it consumes that thing. So this is just an example. We have, for this particular use case, we have an acceptance test. I just want to quickly like stay around. We have a set of acceptance tests, which is our main set of checks to. They are from the perspective of a user. So whatever a user should see should be tested here. So and we are using the specification by example approach here. So the test specification is human readable, as you can see. We are using the Gherkin format, so anybody can take a look and actually try what's the input for that, what the actions are, and what's the expected outcome. So our test suite basically checks that, and it creates the conditions. It performs all the actions as a user would, and that means for us we are using the CLI, kubectl, or our OpenShift client OC to perform most of the things. So we are not like interacting directly. We are not with the Kube API, or we are not changing anything. We are working with the cluster as with the black box only through its public API. I mean the CLI, right? So as you can see, the scenario says that we have an application running, we have the database running, we apply the service binding, and then we check that the service binding itself, the request object is ready. That's checked by the status fields. I'll show you in a bit. The application is redeployed, and then it checks that the application is connected to the database, and it checks, because as you know, the binding happens by injecting some environment variables in this case. So it checks the content of those variables inside the application container. So this is how the test specification looks like. So now let me actually run this test. So it would take a couple of seconds to just set up the things and run the test. And in the test execution, you will see all the steps as shown in the specification with the respective results as the test goes. So while it is running, it would take just tens of seconds or something. So while it's running, the idea here, we have pretty solid set of tests, like almost 60 scenarios that shows like to use that actually use the service binding one way or another to verify its features are working properly. If and that set is growing with almost every PR. The idea is that every PR which fixes or introduces a feature should contain either updated or a new acceptance test, respectively. And of course, if there is a bug or issue reported, the same format of this acceptance test or this Laguerre language is used to show what's expected and what's not working. So we can use it as a reproducer and at the same time to verify a bug is fixed later on. Okay, so now the test is fine. This is run. As you can see, it executed just one scenario, and 53 of them was skipped. So now we can show you the actual cluster after the test was performed, which means the same thing that the status of the cluster now is the same or almost the same equivalent after the example was done. So we have the Postgres operator installed, we have the service binding operator installed, and now we can check the actual workloads here. So it takes a couple of seconds to because it's just a test cluster which doesn't have much resources. So as you can see, the application is here, the service binding, sorry, the database is here, and the binding is created here. You can check the details. But what's really interesting, you can check the application itself. As you can see, the database is connected. This is the name of the actual database resource. So we can, add something to it. Probably cannot for some reason. I'm sorry about that, but I haven't checked what this is. But this indicates that the database is correctly connected to the application. The application might contain some bug, but it consumes the binding correctly. Now, if I want to just destroy that binding, the application should be redeployed. Which also takes a couple of seconds. It's just a simple deployment with the container containing Node.js application. Okay, let me refresh the page. Okay, I won't spend much time on it. The idea here is that our team is using service binding to test service binding, so to actually test it. So if there is any, and of course that's an opportunity for anybody, even from you, or from your teams to like contribute if they face any problems. It's a good to specify it using that language while logging a bug, and we can consume it and create simply create a test from it to verify the bug was fixed, or to even understand the actual feature, the actual behavior, expected one. We use that approach to successfully to discuss about actual behavior, expected behavior. And now the application is redeployed without the binding, and as you can see, the binding is gone. So this is just to show how we can verify the test is fine. The test itself checks the same endpoint here of the application, which is consumed by this URL. So that's basically what I wanted to show you. And the takeaway from this is that we are using it. We are actually using it as a user would to test it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. Any questions? Okay. Just wanted to inquire, John, would you be able to share or talk to or demo a little bit about how your project product uses service binding operator? Would you mind?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Can you see my?
It's coming up.
Can you see something?
We see both screens.
What?
We see two screens. We see two screens.
Oh, that's not good. Let's try one.
Now we see mirrors of screens.
Let me just try one. Okay. Let me see if I just turn this off. That's probably. So you just see one screen now?
Yep. We see the one screen.
So hopefully you see some code right now.
Yep.
So we use it in Apache Camel. So what we want to do is leverage the service binding to ease configuration, basically, right? So here's a little overview of what Apache Camel is. It's an integration framework for Java developers, right? So it's pretty simple if you even don't know about it. So here we're just reading from a timer. So every second we're going to query a JDBC database, and we're just doing login, right? It's fairly simple. And what does CamelK do? CamelK brings this to Kubernetes, right? So it comes with the client. So it's done with configuration here. So yes, that. And then if you go into your favorite Kubernetes monitoring tool, you see that a pod been created. And in the logs here, you'll see what the integration does. So it's very simple. Yeah. So each of these basically components, right? This is the components, the JDBC component here. Kubernetes, right? Camel, and so for each of them, the user has to configure Camel to connect to the service, right? So you could do that in like a properties file, or in Kubernetes you can mark this as secret or confidential, right? So we really want to leverage this service binding so that the developer can specify the service binding instead of writing all this, right? So what we've done here is that we've added an option to the camel binary that says, okay, developer wants to connect to service binding service, right? And here we're just giving the group, version, and kind and name of the backend service. So it's a bit tedious. So yeah, ideally we want some more service discoverability that we pull in service the service binding specification, right? One way to get around that is to create the binding service before, and so there's a service binding type. So here, query Kubernetes to autocomplete, and so here I have some service bindings. You can just use that as a short name instead of using the whole group version kind. So that's cool. So once I've mounted my service binding on my integration, I still need to tell the integration where to find the database user, right? Because it's not in the specification, right? User or something. So I have to look up the TRD and then the annotation. It's kind of tedious, I think. And so what could be done is like import this the runtime as like a more of a opinionated way of looking at that information. So I decided that the username is going to be in the binding property username, same for the password and the host and the database. And so if we assume this, right, then we can put that sort of code in the framework and totally erase this, right? And so the user doesn't have to specify anything here. We can just wire it all together, but he still has to specify the service binding name or something in the command line. Right? So yeah, so those were my three main topics for today. It was more of a opinionated way of specifying property names, right? So for databases, but this could be for like Kafka or anything in service. Maybe put this in a sub-specification, I don't know. The second one was discovery of backend services. I mean, you could query all the CRDs and look at their annotations, but that's more discoverable. Yeah, and if it's not in the specification, maybe different specification. So it's
a question to John. What is your preference in would you like to consume the bindings through the nvars or like through files? What would be your preferred way in your use case?
So like in my use case, I think I just I mounted it. Yeah, we just mounted it as a secret. But honestly, like it doesn't really make I think a difference as long as I can, because it's an operator. So I'm doing all the mounting, so I can really do a lot of things programmatically. One thing that I did notice is that in the service binding operator, at least I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't. I couldn't put in constant values in the CRDs. Like, here. And, right. So if I put here a constant value, I didn't get. I also can work out how to put in constant values. So here I put to work out. So that was something that I noticed. And also, like casing was important. So I had to modify that in the operator itself. Like this expects lowercase things. And I think the service binding operator puts everything in uppercase. So those were some similar things that I had trouble with. But,
Okay. Thank you, John. Thank you all for the presentations and demos. It's great to see. Are there any other general questions from anybody?
yeah, I had a question. Yeah, because I saw in Bobo's demo, he actually there was a list given of service backing services. So I was wondering if it was pre-computed or is it on the fly? How was it done?
Sorry, could you repeat your question, please? I think.
Hey, John, I can hardly hear you.
So yeah, in the demo you gave, in the Code Engine demo, the list of backing services, right? How is service discovery done?
You mean the service discovery? You mean what? You mean how I find the service, right?
Yeah, so like not all services are bindable, right?
Actually, I think that most of the IBM Cloud Service can be bound.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they have a specific type or kind?
I guess we can, in theory, you can add anything you want as a service, right? In theory, so there is support for direct support for config maps and secrets. So you could inject the service, a config map as a service, or a secret as a service, or another deployment as a service, as long as you add the proper annotations in the right place. Right, so in theory, like the discovery is done through support on the configuration. So if you specify, I guess that the bit that we don't have is which services are currently bindable. We only do that after. We don't deal with the discovery. I guess this is what I want to make it very clear. We don't have anything that deals with discovery in this sense. It is on whenever you declare a value, it gets, like, we try to use it, and if it cannot be used, it will be ignored. Right, so the discovery is part of the one that is building the service binding resource.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that's what I thought was a little too bad was we couldn't present the user.
Yeah, so in this case, like, I would say that it depends on the case, right? But I would say that one of the things that we've discussed a while ago was to annotate on CRDs what are the CRDs that you want to be doing some operations if we need to do any automatic operations, right? Or to accept, like, verify the CRD if there's the annotation to even accept whether it can be used in a service or not, right? So there are two different problems that it's basically, we assumed that the service binding resource, you already know what needs to be bound, right? So it's already known. There are like if it might be related or not to what you're saying, like the support to match to labels to match workloads with this sort of discovery, on the sense that you can either specify a specific application or labels for applications to be patched, right? I don't know if it's on the same direction that you're thinking. But regardless, dependencies should be resolved before. This is basically the formalization of dependencies. This is like after you've decided what goes where, which Lego blocks are being used, then that is the mechanism to make everything work.
Right, that makes sense.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for the conversations and discussions. Unless there's any other items for roundtable, thank you all for joining. Just as a note for next week, we're going to be covering a planning discussion. So if there are any topics that you want to bring up, please definitely be prepared to share. And I'll be updating the agenda with more details to come for next week. Okay, let us know if there's any questions or concerns along the way. Have yourselves a good rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.